From the moment the first announcement of Operation Echo reverberated through the intercoms of our training facility, I knew my life was about to change irreversibly. As a technician and operator, my role was not just to ensure the functionality of our equipment, but to pioneer the exploration of Mars. This wasn't merely a mission. It was the culmination of humanity's relentless pursuit to reach beyond our blue home. The final days on Earth were a frenetic blend of last-minute preparations and hushed conversations about the unknowns of Mars. Our team, composed of some of the finest minds and bravest souls, including Commander-Pilot Derek Hawthorne and Engineer Marcus Orion, was a tapestry of expertise and determination. Each of us was aware of the risks, yet driven by a magnetic pull towards the red planet. Our journey began with the ascent into a star-streaked sky, the Earth shrinking behind us until it was no more than a pale blue dot. The camaraderie aboard the spacecraft was palpable, yet beneath the surface, each of us wrestled with our own anticipations and fears. The psychological weight of our endeavor was as pressing as the physical force that pinned us to our seats during launch. The arrival at Mars was nothing short of majestic. The red sands and towering volcanoes of our new frontier sprawled beneath us as we descended. Our base, a cluster of geometric domes reflecting the weak Martian sunlight, became the first chapter of humanity's story on Mars. Our initial task was to deploy the Echo units, advanced drones designed for deep surface exploration. These machines, extensions of our own senses, scuttled across the Martian landscape, relaying images and data that promised to rewrite history books. The significance of what we were doing struck me then. Each piece of data a verse in the epic of human exploration. It was during one of these explorations that the Echo units transmitted their first enigmatic discovery, the Gore. Standing before this dome-like rock formation, I felt like a pilgrim at an ancient shrine. The structure's surface was etched with carvings that suggested deliberate artisanship, possibly a temple or throne room of a civilization long vanished. Inside the Gore, the air was thick with the scent of untouched ages. The floor was a mirror of polished black granite, upon which were inscribed symbols that resonated with an inexplicable familiarity. These carvings hinted at narratives of Martian society that might parallel our own ancient Earth civilizations. My hands trembled slightly as I traced the cold, hard lines, feeling the weight of countless millennia under my fingertips. As our first day on Mars drew to a close, the reality of our mission began to sink in. We were not just explorers. We were the first human beings to walk through the halls of an alien past, touching the very fabric of another world's history. This realization brought both a profound excitement and a daunting responsibility. Lying in my bunk that night, the thin walls of the base all that shielded us from the harsh Martian environment, I pondered what mysteries lay ahead. As the low hum of the base's life support systems lulled me towards sleep, my last conscious thought was a whisper of anticipation for what was yet to be discovered. The Martian dawn broke with a crimson hue, casting long shadows over our camp. Today marked our second venture to the Gore. Its mysteries had haunted my dreams, beckoning with silent whispers of untold stories. As we approached the site, the solemnity of our mission weighed heavily on me, reminding me that each step on this red soil was a step into history. Inside the Gore, our team worked meticulously, documenting every detail. The carvings on the polished black granite told tales of cosmic events and celestial alignments that suggested these ancient Martians had not only been sophisticated, but had possessed a profound understanding of their place in the universe. It was here, amid the dust and echoes of a vanished world, that I felt an inexplicable connection to these long-gone Martians, as if our spirits were intertwined by the shared curiosity of the cosmos. Our exploration was abruptly disrupted when our Echo unit signaled an anomaly at Olympus Mons. The urgency in Commander Hawthorne's voice was palpable as we were routed. Olympus Mons, a towering relic of natural Martian architecture, had always been a beacon for explorers, but today it promised more, a direct glimpse into Martian life. The ascent up the volcano was grueling, but anticipation drove us forward. Reaching the summit, we came across something that none of us were prepared for: a perfectly preserved Martian corpse. It lay there, as though it had just laid down and succumbed to an eternal sleep. The preservation was unnatural, as if the very elements had conspired to keep its secrets from the ravages of time. Gathered around the Martian, our team was silent, each of us processing the gravity of our discovery. This was the proof that life had not only existed but had thrived on Mars. As our physician, Dr. Harold Stone, began his preliminary examination, we realized that our mission had evolved from exploration to preservation. We were no longer merely visitors. We were guardians of this planet's ancient heritage. However, this sense of wonder was soon overshadowed by a series of unexplained malfunctions with our equipment. It started with flickering lights and minor navigational errors, but escalated quickly into more disturbing phenomena. Our communications with Earth became sporadic, filled with static and eerie whispers that seemed almost intelligible. One night, a scream tore through the base's usual hum. We found Arthur Holloway, the archaeologist known for his controversial theories about Martian civilizations, writhing on the floor, his eyes vacant yet filled with horror. His colleagues restrained him as he began to speak in what sounded like the ancient Martian dialect we had recorded from the carvings. The possession of Arthur was beyond our scientific understanding, marking a shift in our expedition from scientific to survival. The following days were tense, filled with whispered debates about the ethical implications of our presence on Mars. Were we intruders, awakening things that were meant to remain dormant? The psychological strain began to manifest, with crew members reporting vivid nightmares and hallucinations, shadows lurking just beyond the edge of vision. Despite these challenges, our commitment to the mission remained unbroken. We fortified our resolve to understand these phenomena, not just for the sake of our safety, but for the potential enlightenment of humanity. Every test, every sample, every recorded whisper added to our growing database, a compendium of knowledge that was as terrifying as it was awe-inspiring. As I lay in my bunk, the red glow of Mars seeping through the window, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were not alone. That beyond the darkness of space, the ancient Martians were watching, perhaps waiting, as we uncovered the secrets they had left behind. This planet, with all its beauty and terror, had captivated us, and I knew that our journey into its heart was far from over. The chill of the Martian night was deeper than ever as our team gathered in the shadow of Olympus Mons. The air was tense, electric with the palpable fear and awe of what we had encountered so far. Arthur Holloway had been isolated, his condition deteriorating into bouts of lucidity interspersed with chilling episodes where he spoke in an ancient Martian dialect. It was clear that whatever had taken hold of him was linked to the revival process we were about to witness, a process that promised answers, but also harbored darker consequences. As we prepared for the ritual that Arthur insisted would bring about the revival of the Martian giant, I couldn't help but feel a part of something monumental, teetering on the edge of cosmic providence and profound danger. The preparations were arcane, dictated by the inscriptions we had found. Under the dim light of our mobile units, the site became a stage for a ceremony that felt as old as time itself. The moment the ritual began, the ground beneath us trembled. Dust and stone stirred as if the planet itself was responding. Before our eyes, the Martian soil erupted, and from it, the figure of a towering Martian giant emerged. Its features were regal and terrifying, a being of another world, untouched by time, yet animated by an unseen force. The giant's revival was met with mixed terror and fascination. As it took its first lumbering steps, some of the crew backed away, while others, like myself, stood frozen, unable to tear our eyes away from this resurrection of a being so clearly superior and otherworldly. It was not just an encounter with alien life, it was an encounter with the ancient rulers of Mars. However, the fascination quickly turned to horror as the ritual took a sinister turn. The giant, imbued with a dark vitality, demanded sacrifice. Arthur, now fully under its influence, led the horrifying act. One by one, Crew members who had been drawn into Arthur's belief in the ritual were consumed, their lives offered up to sustain the creature's newfound awakening. The screams of my comrades broke through the paralysis of my awe, igniting a desperate urge to survive. I ran, not daring to look back as the echoes of the ritual and the roars of the giant filled the Martian air. The base, once a beacon of human achievement, now seemed a fragile sanctuary against the nightmarish reality we had unleashed. Inside the safety of the base, I, along with the few of us who had escaped, barricaded ourselves in. The base became our refuge, a place to hide from the monstrosity we had awakened. Outside, the Martian winds howled like the cries of the lost, a mournful lament that seemed both a warning and a wail of despair. As the night progressed, the reality of our situation set in. We were stranded on a hostile planet, with diminished numbers and a giant roaming freely outside. The psychological toll was immense, with each of us grappling with guilt, terror, and the overwhelming sense of betrayal. We had sought knowledge and discovery, but at what cost? In those long, dark hours, I recorded everything. The data pads were filled with observations, hypotheses, and the raw emotional turmoil of what we had experienced. It was a testament to our journey and possibly a warning to those who might follow. Despite the horror, the need to document, to leave behind a record, was my way of making sense of the chaos. As dawn broke over Mars, the silhouette of the giant could be seen in the distance, a stark reminder of our hubris and the ancient powers we had disturbed. The day promised more challenges, and while I feared what was to come, I also knew that the story of Mars was far from over. Our actions had changed the course of human exploration forever, revealing both the perils and wonders of reaching into the unknown. In the aftermath of the ritual, the silence of Mars felt heavier, loaded with the echoes of the horrors we had witnessed. The giant, now a distant yet menacing presence, roamed the Martian plains, a symbol of the ancient power we had carelessly awakened. As the few survivors and I huddled in the relative safety of our base, the weight of survivor's guilt pressed down on me. We were alive, but at what cost each day? We monitored the giant's movements, its silhouette occasionally visible against the stark Martian landscape, a constant reminder of our folly. Yet with each passing day, my resolve strengthened. We had to understand what had happened, to learn from our mistakes. This planet, with its buried secrets and stark beauty, still held much to be discovered, despite the dangers. The psychological toll was palpable among the survivors. Sleep was fleeting, often interrupted by nightmares of the ritual and the screams of those we had lost. Our discussions often circled back to the ethical implications of our actions. Had our intrusion into these ancient rites been a violation, a desecration of a world not our own? In quiet moments, I found myself poring over the data we had collected, the images of the carvings, the recordings of the ritual. The knowledge we had gleaned was invaluable, a window into a civilization that had mastered the harsh climes of Mars long before humans had even conceived of space travel. This was a discovery of monumental scientific and historical importance, yet it was overshadowed by the cost at which it had come. We established a routine of cautious exploration, avoiding the areas where the giant was known to roam. Our base became a fortress, a bastion of human presence on an otherwise alien planet. The constructed human bases, once symbols of progress and hope, now felt like fragile bubbles of Earth in the vast, indifferent wilderness of Mars. One morning, as I watched Mars' thin sunrise, I contemplated the future. The communications with Earth were sparse but had improved, and we relayed everything we knew. The responses were mixed: horror at the sacrifices, awe at the discovery of the giant, and an intense debate about the next steps for Martian exploration. As the days turned into weeks, our food and supplies dwindled, and the decision was made to return to the orbital station. Leaving Mars felt like abandoning a part of myself, a chapter of my life dictated by both grandeur and terror. As the spacecraft ascended, leaving the red planet behind, I felt a mixture of relief and profound sadness. From the safety of the orbital station, Mars was just another bright dot in the black vastness of space. I spent long hours at the observation deck, watching the planet recede. The experience had changed me irrevocably. I was no longer just a technician. I was a survivor of Mars, a witness to its deepest secrets and darkest rituals. The final report I submitted to the Mars Exploration Authority was my testament. It detailed every discovery, every event, and every consequence. It was a plea for caution and respect in the face of the unknown. Mars, with all its mysteries and dangers, had shown us that some secrets might be too powerful for humanity to handle alone. In the quiet of the station, looking out at the vast cosmos, I realized that our story was part of a larger narrative, a continuous human quest for knowledge and understanding. Mars would one day beckon to us again, its secrets and stories waiting for the brave or the foolhardy. But for now, it remained a world of beauty and terror, intertwined in an eternal dance that we had barely begun to understand.